Welcome into SportsSource.tv. Appreciate you joining us for this overtime segment. It's brought to you, as always, by Jinx Logos. You see their number right there on the screen, 755-7767. Jimmy Andrews runs a terrific operation. And as you can see here, Nike visor with the Sports Source written on it in copper, our new copper color. They've also done jackets for us somewhere on here. Beautiful jacket, Sports Source in the silver metallic. Great stuff, great stuff. And the beauty is, the prices on this, ridiculously low. I swear, I'm not so sure Jimmy isn't stealing some of this stuff. Here, your first one's cheap. Come on, he's a pusher. You're going to be very happy with Jimmy Andrews and Jinx Logos. Give them a call. I can't recommend them any more highly than I already have over the past few months. All right, Bob Hodge, Josh Ward, Jimmy Hyams, Chuck Cavaleris. Josh, during today's show, you talked a bit about the quarterback situation. They've got the new quarterback coming in, the four-star from California, Jones, whose first name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce. Looks like Shariran, but it's
Sharon.
Sharon. Yeah. Of course it is. His last name is Favre. All right. We briefly touched on the Nathan Peterman situation. Looks like he's going to stick around, which is a little bit of a surprise considering clearly it looks like his playing time's limited. What do you think about the quarterback situation overall, though? I mean, we went into this offseason, I went into this offseason last week. We said the big concern for 2015 will be what happens if Dobbs sprains an ankle. Certainly, you don't want to turn it over to a true freshman. Peterman hasn't shown you that he's ready to really take over a starting role. But at the same time, you now have more options, at least. How much does that get of Jones? Now you've got Peterman, but you've also got three choices back there of the freshmen. You don't want to go to a freshman. But three makes your odds of finding a diamond in the rough is a lot better now with three. Thoughts on the quarterback situation? Adding one more at that level, what has that changed your feeling about UT at that position going into 2015?
Yeah, 2015, I'm not entirely sure. It makes you feel better about bodies, guys available. And Nathan Peterman's there for the spring, which I think is important. Quentin Dormity's coming back from an injury. Juwan Jennings still learning the quarterback position. And Jones will be on campus in the summer. So having Peterman here this spring at least, he's a fourth-year junior coming up, I think is really important. Dobbs is the guy. That's what we know. But right after him, that's still very much to be determined, I think.
Thoughts, guys, on the quarterback situation? And Josh, you made a great point in the show with Nathan Peterman. He is well liked on that team. Mm-hmm. He's been voted onto the leadership group year after year. So it is important to keep him around in terms of helping those other young guys. You guys, does it make any impact at all on the quarterback situation in your mind now that you've got more bodies? Is that a bigger plus or just, no, it's still, please don't sprain your ankle, Josh Dobbs?
It's not for 2015 to me. Dobbs better not get hurt. Yeah. At least with Worley, you had somebody you could go with Dobbs. If Dobbs gets hurt now, Peterman has not engendered any confidence in me that he can get the job done, and then you'd be relying on a couple of true freshmen, one of whom was an athlete until his senior year in high school when he developed more into a quarterback. I think it's a huge concern beyond Dobbs, even though you have numbers.
I don't really think it changed anything for me either. I agree with what Jimmy said. I mean, now 2016, 2017, 2018, They're feeling pretty good about it. But 2015, no. But Josh Dobbs is going to be it.
Well, what I like about it is that you've heard what a great practice player Nathan Peterman is. And you've seen some of those, you want to see some of those practice habits and how he goes about his business. That's why I want him to stay in the program. And plus, this is probably the best fit. Where do you think he would go and really have a chance to play a whole lot based on what we've seen? So I want him to stay in the program and help almost coach some of these other kids and show them what it takes to be able to be on the team at this level.
Let's look at just overall the recruiting that Butch Jones is doing. You follow recruiting closer than the rest of us, Josh. It looks like, you could make a case, this is the hottest Tennessee's name has been for a 2-year period. Kiffin had a hot recruited class, but they all turned to be washouts. All but Daniel Hood. Everybody else pretty much washed out. When you look at this 2-year stretch, they may be as hot now as they've been at any time since the heyday of the Philip Fulmer era. Going back to the early 2000s, late 1990s.
Yeah, that may be the case, especially if you start to bring the quarterback position in. To get three well-thought-of quarterbacks, I know Jennings is thought maybe more of as an athlete, but still he's coming in as a quarterback. That's tough to do, especially when two are already on campus and you go get Sharon Jones from California, former Florida commitment. That 05, 07 run with 06, kind of being a dip. So 05 and 07, they had highly rated classes that really didn't pan out. But yeah, other than that, they are as hot, I would say, since late 90s, early 2000s.
How? I mean, what is it that some guys just could sell ice cream to Eskimos, as they say? Is Butch Jones just one of those guys, or is it right time, right place? They've got the facilities. You've made a new push with your academics in terms of how you help your students and everything. Right place, right time, or is Butch Jones just one of those guys that can do it?
I think he's got some Bruce Pearl in him as far as the salesmanship, as far as reaching out to the fan base, reaching out to former players, reaching out to media, doing all the right things. And he's also done a really good job, I think, of aligning himself with assistants that can recruit.
Yes.
That was one of my questions. But to his credit, he brought in, I think it was 5 assistants who had an SEC recruiting background. And they have filtered off of that. And I think Jones is great at promoting, and he doesn't miss a lick. At every chance he has, whether it's bringing Eric Berry in to a bowl game or John Henderson to Jacksonville, he does all those little things, I think, that add up. I think a lot of it has to do with Butch Jones.
I think you look at even his post-game ESPN interview after the bowl game, he takes the opportunity to talk about the team's GPA.
Yeah, 2.77.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. He knows how to push it, and he's pushing all of it, which I do think it's interesting. Now, there's no question that UT has made some decisions to try and help on the academic front a little bit, but to me, it further proves that those who had been complaining that you can't win due to the administration and the academics, no. That Butch Jones obviously is embracing the academic side of it. He's not running from it. And I think that proves that a lot of that was just whining and excuse making, personally. Bob, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I was going to go in a slightly different direction.
Go ahead.
Why is he doing such a good job recruiting? I think because when he has recruits on campus, the recruits find out the players generally like this staff. And I said generally, genuinely like these guys. I know some players that have played the first year with him. I know some guys that have played with him for 2 years. They like this guy. And I think when you've got people on campus and the other players are sitting there going, yeah, come here, it's great, compared to Dooley who, yeah, come here because he may not be here next year.
He may not even know your name.
So I think that has a whole lot to do with his success.
Yeah, and I think, too, Butch Jones has always been the underdog. I mean, he was a walk-on wide receiver. He was, at Central Michigan. He's at Cincinnati. When he was recruiting, he's always going against these bigger, better programs, trying to get players, and then he has to develop them. Now look what he's got to work with in terms of facilities, and he gets it, and he knows how to sell.
Yeah.
He really does.
And I would say he took advantage of the right place, right time opportunity with the legacies. Last year's class, I know Dylan Bates hasn't played, but that's a big name to go get, and Todd Kelly. But he also got Jalen Hurd early when Jalen Hurd was not really all that close to committing or even thinking about committing to Tennessee 2 months earlier. Khalil McKenzie, of course, in this class, it's a huge difference maker for the group.
Well, you go back, and thanks to all of you for being here, sticking around, doing this. You go back to when Butch Jones was first hired and the legacy class was hanging out there. It was on the tree, and all he had to do was pluck it, you hoped. And we said, if this guy can just get off the start Hugh Freeze did. Well, he has, in terms of he improved first year to second year, got to a bowl game, won your bowl game, but he's taken it one step further. Hugh Freeze had that one top 5 class. He's since been top 15, which is darn good for Ole Miss. But Butch Jones is following a top 5 up with another top 5. So you got to give Butch Jones and his staff a lot of credit. Hey, thanks to all of you for joining us here on SportsSource.tv. We'll see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. on WATE TV 6 for the Sports Source. See you then.